Welcome Reggie Douglas Jr., a.k.a. New York Reggie, to VladTV.
Welcome, brother.
I'd like to welcome you and your mother, Miss Lena Jackson, to VladTV. We're honored to have you.
Thank you.
Start with you, Reggie. Let's give people a little background on you. Reggie was born in Harlem Hospital on August 18th, 1970, to a 15-year-old mother and a 16-year-old father, during the peak of the heroin epidemic, of which Harlem was the epicenter. In 1970, the heroin being sold in New York was purest and most plentiful in Harlem. Statistics from that time state that there were upwards of 250,000 heroin users in New York City, and about 80,000 of them lived in Harlem, while the rest came through on the daily to cop and bop. Reggie, your life began in 1970, but your story starts a few years before you were born with the meteoric rise of your father, Cisco Kid. Your dad's name and exploits were legendary in Harlem, when Harlem was considered the center of all things cool and cold-blooded. Can you describe briefly what your life was like for the first few years?
For the first few years, well, I was a child, right? But, I was born into practically I was born a millionaire, but I suffered some medical issues. That's my first few years. I suffered from asthma really bad. And my parents were told that they had to move me into a better environment than living on 116th Street in 218. So we were forced to move. And my dad was insistent that his child was going to live. To the point, my asthma was so bad to the point of being in an incubator. All right? And they moved me uptown first. Then I think they moved me to either Queens or Long Island. And the New York City air itself wasn't enough to preserve my life, so to speak. So it came a point when my father said, "We out of here. We going to Vegas." And they moved me and my mother into a mansion. And that was the first few years. And then, my father was my best friend growing up. You start remembering things when you're about 4. Some people even go back to 3.5. I started remembering things about 3.5, 4 with him. He kept me with him all the time, everywhere he went. And if I wasn't with him, he had me with her. But everything was him and me, and he was just hell-bent on me being different, He didn't want me in the streets. He didn't want me around things. And, eventually I lost him, I lost my dad. I lost him. And I had to go sit in the funeral for the first time as a child and walk over to a casket and try to gauge why someone who's at my everything won't get up when I touch him. If I shake him, if I say his name, Dad, 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 Daddy, Daddy, Dad, he won't move. And that was hard. And that was hard. And that was hard. But my mother, when them people went to close that casket, I went off. And my mother just came and grabbed me and put me in her arms and walked me away. And our life really began then, because we were on our own at that point, and we had to figure it out.
I'm touched.